I get, I'm not going to say great pleasure, but I do get pleasure out of seeing people being defiant towards draconian rules, regulations, austerity measures, etc. It lets me know that there's at least some backbone when it's needed in people. Because they the Greece people, again, the politicians voted for the next bailout to take place to get their little monthly payment, voted for more austerity, privatization plans, etc. So today, mass protests against cuts are taking place not just in Greece. No. Italy, Greece, Portugal, and Spain, to at least name 4. You know, the main 4 that are experiencing this. Italy's not so much as the rest of them. But Portugal, Greece, and Spain are the worst. With, I'd say, Greece being the worst of those. Next, I know Portugal's in bad shape, but Spain's getting there in a hurry. A wave of anti-austerity anger is set to sweep across Europe with general strikes planned in Spain, Portugal, and walkouts in Greece and Italy, grounding flights, closing schools, and shutting down transport. Tens of thousands of workers are expected to take part in the dozens of coordinated protests in a so-called European Day of Action in solidarity against spending cuts and tax hikes. In Spain, the 4th biggest Eurozone economy, activists and unions will be staging an evening rally outside the parliament in and around Madrid. Protests got underway early in Madrid and Barcelona, with protesters attempting to blockade buses and cause disruption at food markets. Airlines operating in the country, including Iberia, Iberia Express, Air Nostrum, Vueling, Air Europa, and EasyJet, cut more than 600 flights, including some 250 international routes. Hospitals in Spain will fully staff emergency and surgery rooms, but non-essential care will be scaled back. Spain, where 1 in 4 workers is unemployed, that's 25% unemployment, by the way, is now teetering on the brink of calling for a European bailout. No. Where did we hear that before? Where have we heard that that was going to be coming soon? Oh, I don't know. Everybody on the alternative media, Max Kaiser, Gerald Salente, myself, thanks to listening to guys like that, you know, and figuring out what the hell they're talking about long ago, to easily see the picture of what would happen in the future. Again, I'm no expert, although maybe I am an expert because I've been studying it for so long. But guess what I'm trying to say is anybody can do this. All it takes is sitting down and spending time reading, researching, reading some more, researching some more, and you can actually figure out how this goes. So goes Spain, so goes Greece, so goes Portugal, so will go Spain, as I've been saying. So they're teetering on the brink of calling for a European bailout. Oh, really? With Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy, or Rajoy, however you pronounce that guy's name, trying to put off a rescue that could require even more EU-mandated budget cuts and austerity measures. I guess this guy, Mariano Rajoy, either you don't know the way it works, and you're about to find out, or you already knew exactly how it works, and you're pretending you don't know, and this is all new to me, and we're going to have to cut because I didn't know this, and you know, you're going to play your role, one or the other. Portuguese airline, well, actually I missed a sentence here. Protests are also being called in 40 towns and cities across bailed out Portugal, including Lisbon and Porto. Portuguese, now keep in mind, bailed out Portugal. So Portugal got their handful, Greece got many handfuls, and it's still pushing them further in the debt. Portugal will be back in the front line sooner than later, trust me. That bailout does not fix things. It only causes it to get worse. Putting someone who's already in debt, in more debt, telling them that that's good for them and to like somehow help them, is absurd. And that's what happened to Portugal. It's what happened to Greece. It's what's happening in Spain now. It's, of course, been happening here in America by just turning on the printing press. The same thing, because when we print money, there has to be bonds printed, and whoever buys those bonds now gets interest payments from us. And the interesting thing was last year, 2011, a whole year ago, 60% of all bond auctions that were bought by the Federal Reserve. I can't wait for the numbers to come out for 2012. How much did the Federal Reserve buy this time? Or part of the $40 billion a month scam to the bankers, giving them, oh, we're buying the mortgage-backed securities from them, $40 billion a month minimum. Is that the money they're going to use to give to the bankers at the end of the year, which is when this was just announced recently, and have them buy those bonds, either directly from the Federal Reserve, who's been buying them all year long, or whatever, to make it look like, oh no, there's been action out there, guys. There's been action. There's been people who want our bonds, not just the Fed. This, matter of fact, 2012 shows that the Fed only bought 20 or 30%. That's all. Well, who bought the rest? Well, we don't know. We can't give names, but other people, maybe other countries, other financial institutions somewhere. In other words, the bankers, if that's how it goes. Greece, struggling to satisfy international lenders that it has cut spending sufficiently to qualify for bailout funds and avoid default, has called a 3-hour walkout and a rally in Athens. Italian unions, too, are seeking a 4-hour work stoppage. The European Trade Union Confederation said it was the first time that it had appealed for a day of action that includes simultaneous strike action in 4 countries. Quote, by sowing austerity, we are reaping recession, rising poverty, and social anxiety, end quote. Its general secretary said in the online statement, quote, in some countries, people's exasperation is reaching a peak. We need urgent solutions to get the economy back on track, not stifle it with austerity. Europe's leaders are wrong not to listen to the anger of the people who are taking to the streets, end quote. Just 20% of Spain's long-distance trains and a third of its commuter trains are expected to run, while Lisbon's metro will be shut completely with only 10% rail services in action. This is the kind of thing, perfect example of non-violent, peaceful protests. Because when a person already says, you've cut my wages down to a quarter of what they used to be, I can't make ends meet now. Who cares if I miss work today? It means nothing anyways. And everyone gathers together to miss work, which also means revenues will be down. And they'll do it again. And then the train revenues are down. The airport revenues, all these revenues are down. And all of that will finally put, ultimately, enough pressure on the government over there, or wherever this takes place. In this case, 4 different countries right now in the EU. They will finally allow Greece and other countries to go default and file bankruptcy. Here's why I think they're letting Greece last so long without defaulting. Because if Greece finally defaults, let's say December 2012, Greece finally defaults, whether by force or the elite let the politician minions say go ahead and default. We already got all your property. We got your rail system, we got your public waterways, your public utilities. We own that now through austerity and privatization, actually. So now go ahead and default. If they do that, Greece is tiny. Greece is a tiny country. Spain has got some serious money, and it's the 4th largest economy over there. Of all the Eurozone countries, it's number 4. If Greece defaults, that opens the door for Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, whoever's next, and in this case, Spain, to then say, well, hell, why are we going to sit here and suffer for 2 years or so like Greece basically did, when all we got to do is default like Greece just did? It worked great. It worked just fine. Why don't we do that? And that's what would happen. So I think it's in their bankers' best interest to let Greece keep going, keep going, keep going. But the problem that they're going up against is the people of Greece saying enough is enough. It's almost there, but it's not quite. And it remains to be seen if there's a massive revolution that just takes place in Greece, where everybody throws these politicians out, beating their asses on the way out. Violence. I mean, people will break and snap to that point when the people they elected do not listen. You got elected because you're supposed to listen to the people. We're electing you so that all of us don't have to jump in and pile into a parliament building and pass laws and budgets and basic things every month, every week, whatever we have to do. That's why you're elected. And that somehow turned into, I've got all this power. I'm not listening to any of you, except when it's time to vote. I'll pretend I'm listening to you. I'll pretend I'm very concerned about all your needs. I'm your right choice, and as soon as you vote me in, you can't vote me out. I'm in here for several years. What can I do? Who can I get money from? That crap is going to stop. Evil does not stop itself. Corruption does not stop itself and say, you know, I've been corrupt too long. I'm going to go ahead and tone down. No, no. It has to be stomped out like a filthy, stinking cigarette. It has to be stomped out. Therefore, if you can't vote them out, it always leads to throwing them out. Whether you physically put your hands on these politicians to yank them out, violently shoot them, kill them, that's what history shows us over and over again. Therefore, why would I be a fool to think that can't happen again? The way it can't happen is if they just physically went in there, grabbed them, detained them, forced them to fire. Forced them to, you know, fire them, whatever, step down, resign. But I haven't seen that yet, or anything even close to that. But be rest assured, as this gets worse, that could very well happen. So, that's all I got for you right now. I got another video real quick.